Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Vicki Howie of chakraboosters.com, the creator of Chakra Boosters Healing Tattoos. And welcome to your energy forecast for May 2020. Now, if you haven't had a chance to watch my video for April's energy forecast, I'm going to leave the link below, and I advise that you watch that even if after this, because we're on a roll now, and these are building like chakra work builds, like root and sacral and solar plexus. It's building now. Again, we're in a forward movement cycle. So just to remind you real quickly of the themes from then, we had theme number 1 from April was this new soul-driven self that we were creating. Theme number 2 was having more authentic communication, more vulnerable, more feminine, more true to who we really are inside and out. And finally, theme number 3 was getting to be in the now, really learning to live in the now, because pretty much circumstance is finally making us have to be there because we don't know what's coming up. So have you been practicing those themes? For this video, we're going to add on to that, and I'm going to look at 3 more big themes. Then I'm going to look at 4 dates in May that are important for you to pay attention to, and I'm going to pull 2 goddess cards, one for the first half of the month and one for the second half of the month. So are you ready? It's deep this month. It's intense and deep. So the first theme that we're going to look at, and I've got a few notes up here that I'll look at once in a while. The first one is that we're going to become aware of old patterns. We have a lot of retrograde planets this month, and I'm going to go over that when I go over the dates. But that energy is going to invite us to deep dive into looking at our patterns and our past. And when we do that from a place of clarity, 2020, and a place of clarity that comes from heart, 2 and 2 is 4, we're in a 4 year, then it's unconditionally accepted, and it already shifts just in recognizing it. So I'm really just big about this heart energy and witnessing from this place. So we're just going to even just notice the patterns, and they're going to shift. And what are we not going to do? We are not going to make them wrong. None of our habits or patterns are going to be made wrong. That's what we don't want to do. So as you're looking at them, just remember they served a purpose. We never have a habit pattern that didn't serve a purpose. It became a habit pattern because we did it over and over again, and we did it over and over because it served a purpose. It served some of our needs. But once it's outgrown, it's time to let it go. So we're going to look at those patterns, and we are going to let go of the ones that don't work. Okay, so we're also going to learn to be with our emotions. This is going to be super important. This feminine energy is coming in, and I'll get into more of why. We have some information on the north nodes that we're going to look at. The lunar nodes, but the north node in particular that we're graduating from is Cancer, and that's going to help us be in our emotions. We have an intense Scorpio full moon that's going to help us be in our emotions, and we're going to be doing that retrospective looking back that will help us do that as well. So it's going to be big around embracing our emotions, finally embodying them, not making them wrong, really letting the feminine part of us live within us. Number 3 is that we're going to have a new relationship with abundance. Now this includes money, but it also includes more than money. Abundance, life's pleasures. And there's going to be a lot of reasons. We're in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Venus is love, money, pleasure, relationships. 2/3 of this month is ruled by the sun of Taurus. We're also we have Pluto in retrograde. It's already in retrograde. It's not one of the ones that's going to happen this month. It happened April, I think 26th. So we're coming into May with Pluto in retrograde, and that's also about money. Pluto is, and we have Jupiter, it's going to go into retrograde. So we have all these planets that are about money or about abundance, about luxury in life and pleasures in life, which are really the true forms of abundance. And then we have a lot of love energy and awareness around love. And if you ask me, love is the most valuable currency in the universe. So as we come into more unconditional love for self and other, we get to enjoy life more. right? No one ever goes to their grave saying, oh, I wish I had worked more, or I wish I had earned more money. When they get to that point in their life, they're like, I wish I had loved more, or I wish I had expressed my love more. And that's a big lesson that we're coming into in this 2020 heart chakra year. And if you never saw my video of the year, the energy forecast for 2020, you might want to watch that as well. So I'll put that link below too. Our first important date is May 5th. On May 5th, the lunar nodes change. Now, what are the lunar nodes? The lunar nodes are a pair of astrological signs that are affecting or expressing to us the soul lesson that we're walking through. Some call it a karmic lesson. It will be both individual and collective. Well, on the 4th, or the very end of the 4th, we're finishing up a lesson that we've been learning that goes from the south node of Capricorn energy into the north node of Cancer energy. And we're beginning a new journey with the south node of Sagittarius that moves into the north node of Gemini. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but each one of those pairs that I talked about are opposing pairs. They have complementary energies in astrology, and that's the way the nodes work. So we're back to this idea, which I always love to work with, which is duality, because in the 3D world, we get to experience yummy unity by embracing duality, just allowing it to exist and not making it oppositional, but more complementary, like our chakras, 3 masculine, 3 feminine, living side by side, and we're integrated when they come together. So the south node is the karmic lesson, or it's the karma we come in with. The south node is what we've been doing a lot of. The north node is where we're going. Well, this is so interesting. Most people talk more about the new nodes coming in, but I'm more interested in you celebrating on May 5th this graduation that we've come to into Cancer energy. We've come from Capricorn. Think about it. This fits so well. It's sort of like the test of all this, or the stamp, the graduation of all this has been the pandemic, because Capricorn energy is the tendency to work, work, work. It's the workhorse. It's the earth energy that's masculine. It's the father. It wants to earn the living. It wants to talk from logic and operate from logic rather than an emotional realm. And it is, all about success, and it will work its rear off. Cancer energy is like the mother to that father energy. It is emotional because it's a water sign. It is heart-oriented. It's mothering and loving unconditionally, and it focuses on family and home, very much home. Cancer's about home. Like the crab always wants to go back in its shell or be in its shell because it feels home in itself, in its own home grounds. So look at what has happened with the pandemic. We were pulled out of work. That pattern was interrupted. Again, the theme of looking at our patterns, the best way to change patterns is to allow them to be interrupted, because when they're interrupted, we get to see them. So our work pattern was interrupted, and in that interrupted work pattern, we were sent home, and we became closer with family and loved ones. Can you feel that? It's literally the acting out, the outward playing of this collective inner energy of our lesson of not making work so important, coming home, making family and love and heart and nurturing more important. Can you feel that? Now, I'm not going to go a lot into the other nodes, but it does feel like going into Cancer. I'm going to let you research it more yourself. But we are moving into, I'm sorry, I said Cancer. I meant moving into Gemini. The new node, the new north node is Gemini. So we're moving toward this energy of more understanding around social things, information, our duality, the twins, remember? But I'll go into that more at the end of this report, because I'm going to talk about the Gemini new moon, and we'll be setting intentions for that. So I'll be giving you some questions around that will get you thinking about what Gemini is all about. Just know that I want you now on May 5th to celebrate your graduation, our graduation, from being so lost in work, 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 money, world, protection, logic, and getting back to heart, home, hearth, hearth, family, and love. This is a 2020 love year. Okay, so the next date is May 7th. We have a full supermoon. It's the third supermoon in a row. So the world is pulsating right now with energy. Supermoons are closer to the earth and they're more powerful. Full moons are about completions, and I like to say celebrations, because if we complete something, we need to celebrate it. Full moons are recognizing where we are right now. This one is at 3:45 a.m. on May 7th in Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is intense. And we've also got Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, in retrograde from the beginning of the month. It happened actually, I think, April 26th. So we've got this intense Scorpio energy. Now, Scorpio goes for death and rebirth and the underworld and what's underneath and what's secret and let's pull out the truth. Can you feel that? And Scorpio is a water sign. So it too is telling us embrace those emotions. That's that theme, embrace the intense emotions, because Scorpio is the most intense sign, most people agree. It's emotional because it's a water sign. It's the most sensual and sexual. So there's a lot of sacral, watery energy happening on this moon. The moon itself is water. It affects the tides. It's got a water quality, a lunar, feminine quality. I'm not saying the moon's made of water, but it affects the water. It has a water element to it. So feel into that. We're looking at a really intense, juicy, sensual, intimate, secretive, like figure out the mysteries, look under the carpet, do some shadow work. I'll leave the shadow, chakra shadow playlist below so you can do some shadow work with me if you'd like. Just if you're willing to, from a very loving place, and this is the key, loving place, if you're willing to really look under and look beyond where you've looked before, there's going to be some real opening of truth and juiciness in your life around this full moon. Okay? So enjoy the Scorpio full moon and celebrate feeling your emotions. They will be intense. It'll be intense for everybody, but just be with it. Let's practice being with it, because we can now do this spiritual work in an embodied way. The next date is, I cheat a little bit. It's not exactly a date. It's a span of dates from the 11th of May to the 14th. And I'm calling this span Retrograde Palooza. Now that's a mouthful, so that's why I had to say it so carefully. Retrograde Palooza. Because count them, 3 intense, deep, important, big planets are going into retrograde between those 4 days, over those 4 days. And Pluto, remember, is already in retrograde the entire month. And these 3 planets will stay retrograde the rest of the month. So from the 14th on, we have 4 planets for the rest of the month that are in retrograde. Let's look at what these planets are and just really generally what they mean. I'm doing this, you guys. You wanted me to make it a little shorter. I could do this thing for an hour easily, maybe an hour and a half, especially this May one. So to make it shorter, I'm just going to invite you to go and research what interests you. If I talk about these planets, you want to know what it means for them to be retrograde more, go check into it. But basically, you remember, retrograde is when we look back and we look in. We look back at our past and at our patterns. There are the patterns again from the theme. And we look within. And in all of that, we get self-understanding. Only if we look back in love, okay? We remember to not be in judgment and to not make wrong. Everything that we have been has served us in some way, or we wouldn't have gone there. So let there be just a deep acceptance of what we see, because we actually can make change from acceptance. People think we make change when we make things wrong. Like, oh, the world's so wrong, I gotta change it. Actually, that's a resistance energy that doesn't work very well. Whereas when we come from a place of love and we're still acknowledging where it wants to be changed, it's really much more simple. In fact, the love itself, the awareness, especially when we do it collectively, will often just cause the past to sort of evaporate because we can see that it doesn't work anymore. And we're seeing it in a loving space. So it's just kind of like shrug, on to the next thing. Can you feel that? There's like no resistance. Okay, so on the 11th, Saturn, the deep planet that has the ring around it, that has had so much to do with all of this pandemic and limits and being limited and confined and boundaries and borders, that planet, that big planet that has all that energy, is going to go into retrograde. So you might feel it in your body, you really might. And just realize that retrograde means reflect on those things. Reflect on what have these limits meant? What do boundaries mean to you? What does law mean to you? Where should there be law and where not be law, you know? But most of all, just experience it in your body. Okay, and if you feel a bit of a sludgy heaviness, Saturn has a heavy energy, so that might kick in just a little deeper. We've been dealing with a lot of it, so you might not notice it, but it might go a little bit more for retrograde. On the 13th, we are going to have Venus go into retrograde, and that is so exciting. Venus is such a beautiful feminine energy, and it's very similar to, we've got that Cancerian energy, right? Again, that love, that unconditional love. Venus deals with money and abundance, with love, with relationships, and with beauty, okay? And it's ruled, it rules Taurus, right? Which is, Taurus is the sun sign for 2/3 of May. So we're looking at a lot of themes around abundance, around nature, around natural abundance, like what are the natural gifts of life that make us feel good versus consumeristic or like money only thinking about abundance. Can you feel the difference? So Venus is a chance to look at your patterns in relationships and around money. And because it's retrograde, it's going to say maybe you want to go check into an old relationship. You want to check and see where you're at now with that. That might be you checking it on your own, or that might be you actually connecting with someone you haven't connected with in a long, long time. Okay, and then on the 14th, 1414, on the 14th, we see Jupiter go into retrograde. Now, Jupiter is the beneficent planet, luck, beauty. It's just going to slow down and be with us. So I want you to feel that. It's time to look at your spirituality, your luck, your beliefs, your ability to expand in your life. That's what Jupiter's asking you to reflect upon starting on the 14th. It's going to keep going the rest of the month, all of these. So your questioning, your curiosity, your reflections can continue throughout the month. You just might feel them kick into gear a little bit more the 11th through the 14th. And you also might find that if you're trying to push forward really hard on a project, it could be quite a bit more challenging at that time, because retrogrades were made for pause, for reflection, for going inward, and for looking back. They're not about going forward. So if you do need to go forward, these planets are big, so they're going to be in retrograde longer. Go forward in a really clear, slow, aware kind of way. Got it? How's that sound? Okay, so finally our last date is May 22, and you probably know it's the new moon, because I always do both moon phases, the new and the full moon, in my forecasts. So on the 22nd, we have a new moon in Gemini, which totally goes with, right, our brand new stepping into of the North Node being Gemini, which is where we're going in our soul lesson collectively. Interesting, because Gemini is about being social, and we've had all this confusion and what's the word I'm looking for? Like everything's been stirred up around the social distancing. That word didn't even exist practically before April, certainly before March, right? Back in February and definitely January, we didn't have this idea of social distancing, and we certainly didn't have the embodied experience of it. So we're being invited now as we move into this new moon to set intentions around Gemini energy. So this is exciting because we're literally setting intentions around the sign that our North Node was established as 2 weeks earlier. Is that 2 weeks? Yeah, well, a little over 2 weeks, on the 5th of May. So here's your opportunity to set your first little intentions around Gemini. And let me give you some questions that I came up with. First of all, are your social needs being met? Okay, are your social needs being met? Feel into that. If they aren't, what would you like to change? And you can set that as an intention. Second, Gemini rules media. What are you feeling around media? Is it serving you? Are you feeling overwhelmed by it? This is regular media and social media. Are you questioning it enough? Are you getting alternative sources of information? If you stay on the internet, it's all algorithms. You're just getting the same information because they've already figured out what you like, and they're going to send you the same stuff. So I invite you to go sit by a fire or sit by water by a lake, and just whichever you prefer, and read a book. Do it the good old-fashioned way. Ask friends that you know are different than you, what they're doing, what they're believing in. Okay, so you're really going to want to look at your usage of media, what you're taking in from the media, how you can, stir up your usage of media and get different perspectives, because that's what Gemini likes, lots of information, different perspectives. That's how Gemini gets to the truth. And of course, Gemini is related to the throat chakra. Gemini is related to Mercury, so it's about communication. So what do you want to change in your communication? With self or with others? With the collective? Maybe you're communicating with a lot of people like I'm doing right here. What do you want to change? Communication is going to be key. Okay, and then finally, let's work with the twin aspect of Gemini. The twins are part of Gemini. The twins are part of the South and North Node, right? These opposites, that masculine and feminine that you know I love to work with. I think in the 3D world, we're coming here to feel our full integration, to embrace the wideness of ourselves, our masculine and our feminine. So you might want to look at a twin theme like, how am I embracing my opposites? Am I making one wrong and the other right? Or am I toggling between them and I can't find any integration? That's two really big things. Right now, I believe that we are working hard to not just shift over to love and inner home-oriented activities, but rather we're trying to balance our way out of balance from before, Capricornian, Saturn-like masculine world of being too work-oriented. So we're not making work wrong. We're trying to integrate and bring a lot more of the home and nurturing and love and feminine and emotions into our logical, scheduled work world. Can you feel that? So I love that. You know that's what I'm all about. And since you're here on my channel, I think you're probably about that too, which is embracing it all. Embracing the duality in such a loving way that we are unified, that we know all of ourselves and we can accept all of others as well. So finally, I shuffled up our cards, and let me put on my reading glasses and let's get a couple goddess cards. Our first goddess card is for the first half of the month, and we have, let's look at it. Okay, I'll bring it right up here. I'm going to actually just cut it in here. I'll edit it in for you. It's Mary Magdalene. I can't think of a better card. This is what I'm actually trying to say, guys, over and over again. Unconditional love is what it's about now. The feminine. Unconditional love is actually what's going to make things easier to change, and we're in a world of change now. By the way, the new nodes are both mutable. They're both changeable. Everything is pointing that we're getting more flexible and able to change. Both Gemini and Sagittarius are changeable. So our soul lessons are even changeable now. Or they have a quality of being able to happen more easily, of being able to change. And unconditional love says, the card from Doreen Virtue's goddess card says, love yourself, others, and every situation. Ooh, I love that. No matter what the outward appearances may be. So we've had some spooky outward appearances. We're looking into a whole lot of change now. I can feel it in May, things moving. And it's about, as we move forward, keep the love. The Cancer energy that we just graduated from. We just hit that Cancer North node. And the 2020 lesson of this year, love, self-love, love of others, which is really another way of saying acceptance. It's all good and it's all God. It is all God. And it only becomes bad or negative or has these really destructive results when we make it wrong, when we resist it, when it comes from unconscious. But when we make anything conscious, we can use it in a positive way. And if you don't understand that, go watch my shadow videos and find the gift in every shadow. I do 5 shadow qualities for each chakra. That's 35 qualities that I help you find the gift of, things that you probably judged before. So definitely watch that. And let's go on to the next one. Mary Magdalene's Perfect. First half of the month, unconditional love. Second, Irene. So honestly, you guys, I don't know that much about Irene, but her meaning on this card is peace. And the words at the bottom say, there is no need to worry as everything is working out beautifully. So, may I say something? I want to say something with this. Peace is a heart chakra quality. Unconditional love is a heart chakra quality. 2020 is a heart chakra year. We just went through April where we had all kinds of crazy things happening in 4 heart chakra 2020. So I really think we're starting to settle in now to this understanding that it's all going to be okay. We're past the shakeup of it all. So it's normal to feel fear, right? It's normal. We never want to shame any emotion. Remember, that's that's lesson number 2 or theme number 2 for this month, is to embrace all emotions, all of them, so they can exist. But Irene is about peace, and peace comes when we accept. So we have this loving heart chakra energy from each goddess. First half of the month, unconditional love. Second half of the month, peace, sweetness. Can't think of anything better. It's speaking to me. These cards are speaking to me that we're going to get some calm now. We're going to continue to deal with what already exists, but we're not going to get new shakeup. So if you're still carrying, you know how sometimes if someone has a car accident and they get a shock to the system, what happens is often chiropractors say that gets lodged in the body and they keep it, even though in the beginning, bracing or whatever, the body feels it and the body reacts because it thinks it needs to do something. But once the trauma is long over, we don't need to do anything. So I'm inviting you into a newness energy of love again, of balance back into your chakras. And Mary Magdalene and Irene are both inviting you into that energy as well. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. I know it was long, you guys. It could have been much, much longer. There is so much happening in May, and so much is carrying over from April. These are deep, spiritual, but I want to say embodied spiritual times, which are super, super exciting to me, because I believe embodiment is the new enlightenment. In the past, masculine enlightenment often meant even going up in the chakras so much we literally would leave our physical body and identity behind in many ways. But now we're bringing heaven onto earth. We're learning to live in our lower chakras and to love them, to bring the spirituality all the way down into our root. That's been big this year. And down into now the sacral this month. Lots of watery emotions. So, feels good to me. I hope it feels good to you, and that you'll embrace the themes and play with them this month. Loosely keep track of the dates, pay attention to the moon phases, maybe do a little celebration on the 7th of May for the Scorpio full moon, and a little intention ritual on the 22nd of May for the new moon in Gemini. And other than that, keep remembering that this pandemic we've been through is a heart chakra activator. It works with the lungs, and 2020 is a heart chakra year. Let us trust in everything that's unfolding. Let us be in deep trust of what's unfolding so that we can breathe and make the most of something that's challenging. I hope that we are all using this time to know ourselves and each other better and to love everything better, including Mother Earth, because she needs it too. That's it, guys. That's all of it. I hope that your month is full of unconditional love and that you take the time from the 14th on to get into that retrograde, retrospective mode and make the most of it. I'm sending you so much love and a lot of joy with what's possible this month, and I will see you on the next video.